everybody, it's Andrew Gaffney, Retail TouchPoints. I'm here at NRF and I'm joined by Lisa Arthur. Lisa's the CMO with Teradata. Lisa, also the author of Data-Driven Marketing and a great resource in the space. So Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew, great to be here.
So Lisa, we just recently published our Outlook guide for 2015, and in it, one of the first columns in there is from Omar Mankara with Aberdeen, and he talks about a couple of the recommendations he makes are having a single view of the customer, turning converted data into insights. These are things that you talk about in the book. They've been talked about for a long time. Why are they still sort of at the top of the list? Why has it been so hard to achieve for retailers?
Yeah, well, what we're finding is that there's kind of a backlog, Andrew, of data issues within most companies, whether it be a retailer or this whole supply chain, right? It's a shared problem. And that backlog has become more complex because we have new data coming in from sensors, right? If I have a smart fitting room, I have new data coming in from social networks that I wasn't tracking 10 years ago. So we never got the original data problem solved. I call it the data hairball, and now we've made it bigger because of all of these different channels. So the good news is though, and we'll be putting out a survey results in a couple of weeks, is that in the last 18 months, from 2013 to 2015, right now, we've seen the use of data by marketers double, from 38 to over 75%. So there's goodness there. It doesn't mean that we've solved that single view, but it means we're applying more data for better marketing.
Right, good points. In the same Outlook guide, Lauren Friedman from E-Tailing Group talks about loyalty and the sort of new generation of loyalty because there are so many channels. And this is also a topic that you've talked about in the book. Where are we in terms of growing, reaching loyalty and across channels? How does it get more complex?
I think we see a couple of things. We see innovators out there that have completely redefined loyalty, and I'll give an example of that. 7-Eleven. Amazing retailer. You would not think of them with a loyalty program per se, but what they've done is their customers are all about convenience, right? And they had all the information on the transactions in the store, right? What was going in, what was coming out. They didn't have information on that customer. And so what they've done is they've deployed real-time interaction management to be able to get those real-time insights, whether somebody's pumping gas or somebody wants a cold beverage in Miami and a hot beverage in New York, but been able to bring that back together for relevant, real-time engagement, and that is how they're really reshaping loyalty. I think it's a great example. On the other hand, we've got a retailer like DSW who has really redefined how they're looking at their customers based on their preferences, their behavior, not what do I want to sell and what are the points, right, the transactional elements. Right. And with that, they've gone from 5th to 2nd in their category through really smart data-driven marketing. So I think two very different examples that really show where loyalty's headed, and it's all around real-time, relevance, and what's important to me, not a blank mass loyalty program.
That's great. So omni-channel is again a big topic here, and you touched on some of those aspects. How do a retailer, any examples you can share, how do they manage data, getting to that relevance, things you've mentioned across all these channels?
So a couple of things. One is no one today is completely omni-channel. We have not realized that yet. Right. But what we're doing is we're seeing retailers and their supply chains focus on the key strategic channels for those consumers. Right. For some it's social, for some it may not be, right? But what are those channels, and then integrating those in. Integrating in the data, integrating the process of communicating and engagement. And by the way, the great part of that is we're integrating the outside-in experience, and that's where we see marketers focus today.
So one other trend that we're seeing, and we covered it, made the news, obviously, is all the executive changes at Target, and with their new executives, they announced an executive team focused exclusively on data analytics and becoming best in class at that. Do you see more of that? Do you see more organizations committing to this and adding staff around it?
Absolutely. Organization and culture, Andrew, are two of the biggest focal points as retailers look to be more customer-centric. And in doing that, they're realizing they need more data savvy and insight savvy members of the team. at the C-level, but also within the organization. The other is bringing in executives that are tearing silos down. If we think about CIOs and CMOs, and the quote from Gartner that has been overused, right? CMOs will spend more on technology than the CIO. We've got to have that marriage together. So CEOs, when they don't see that, they're actually replacing both functions because they need them to work together.
Great points. So CMO, you talked about the CMO-CIO relationship. You've been a CMO for quite a long time and you're involved in CMO organizations. You talked about the study that you mentioned where marketers are using more data. What about the CMO conversations you're having? Is it at their level? Are they more focused on data and analytics in the conversations you're having?
They are, but they're looking at it from a business outcome perspective, and it's all around kind of two key areas. And we surveyed over 500 marketers this summer, and it was a cross-section of CMOs to digital marketers. The number one focal point for CMOs out there, attracting customers. Right. Number two is retaining. So we're still seeing that attract and retain being the driver. The analytics, the data are the flywheel to help that happen. So that's how they're entering into that picture.
And they're realizing that, though. They're realizing that that's going to make those go.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm most excited about, and you've been in this industry like I have for a while, is we've been talking about one-to-one marketing for years. Right. And yet, many brands, but not all brands, and certainly I think a majority are still not there with it. What we're going to see happen, and we're seeing it happen in 2015, is that this desire for personalization is moving to individualization. The survey that we'll announce in a couple of weeks points that 9 out of 10 marketers need and see an imperative in that individualization, and it's being driven by our shoppers, it's being driven by our buyers. So I think it's exciting because the technology is here. It's now time to take one-to-one marketing and make it truly individualized.
That's a great point. So the book, Data-Driven Marketing, has been out for over a year now.
That's correct.
You've been obviously ahead of the curve here, and it's a big trend at the show. What have you seen? What kind of progress have you seen made? What kind of changes have you seen in the space since the book was originally published?
A couple things. One is, I think marketers have a much better idea of what big data is. Right. I think there's still a lot of room for upside in that, how do I apply it? Okay. So I think we're seeing a lot more a comfort of what big data is. The other piece, and it goes back to one of my earlier comments, that we've seen the use of data in marketing double in 18 months. Now, there's no way I could take credit for that with the book, but I think, publications like yours, books, webinars, from all the great resources out there, marketers are now saying, okay, I have to be data-driven, and that's where I think it's really exciting.
And to your point earlier, it aligns so closely with those two core goals of acquiring and retaining. You can't do it without the insights.
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you very much for making time today.
It's been a pleasure.
Good to see you again.
Great to see you, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.